The governor of Florida telling illegal immigrants to fasten their seatbelts for takeoff. Ron DeSantis saying deportation flights from Alligator Alcatraz have officially kicked off, and he's warning traffic on that tarmac about to get a whole lot busier. Welcome to another hour of Fox News Live. I'm Bill Malugin. We thank you for joining us. We begin with Madison Scarpino on how Florida officials say Alligator Alcatraz has already taken a bite out of illegal immigration. Madison, good morning to you.
Good morning, Bill. The goal of Alligator Alcatraz has always been to ramp up deportations, and that's exactly what it's doing. Governor DeSantis says 100 illegal immigrants there have already been flown off to other countries, and hundreds more have left the facility, flown to other U.S. immigration detention hubs, and will soon be deported as well. The illegal immigration detention center is on a 30-mile property in the marshy Florida Everglades. It's on a former training base and already has an airstrip, making deportations very convenient.
One of the reasons why this was a sensible spot is because you have this runway that's right here. You don't have to drive them an hour to an airport. You go a couple thousand feet and they can be on a plane and out of here.
Yesterday, Governor DeSantis says Alligator Alcatraz can hold up to 2,000 detainees, but they plan to eventually double the capacity. DeSantis is also pushing back on claims of inhumane conditions at the facility. Earlier this month, a group of Democrat Florida lawmakers took a tour of Alligator Alcatraz. They're calling the conditions appalling, disgusting, and disturbing.
Clean cage is still a cage.
That's right.
And they couldn't even keep this clean.
This place needs to be shut the hell down.
Yep.
It needs to be shut down.
But DeSantis says this outrage from Democrat lawmakers is just a political stunt.
I'm just thinking to myself, I've never seen one of you show up to comfort an angel mom who's lost a child because of illegal alien crime. I've never seen you raise any concern about the victims of illegal immigration.
The facility is going to cost about $450 million a year, and it's FEMA who is going to reimburse Florida for those funds. Bill?
Yep, and the Trump administration has said they're looking at other states who might want to do something just like Alligator Alcatraz, so we'll see where that goes. Madison Scarpino, appreciate that report. Good to see you. So a big sanctuary city showdown is brewing in the Big Apple. The Justice Department is suing the city of New York over its sanctuary policies, claiming they obstruct federal immigration law and allow dangerous criminals to roam the streets and commit crimes. Crimes like we saw last Saturday when an off-duty CBP officer was shot. 2 illegal migrants have been charged in that violent attack. For more now on the potential impact of this lawsuit across the country, we're going to bring in former acting deputy chief of staff at DHS, Lora Ries. Lora, good morning to you. Thanks for joining us today.
Good morning. Thanks, Bill.
So both of the suspects who are charged in the shooting and attempted robbery of that CBP officer have been arrested multiple times in New York City, and both of them had multiple ICE detainers ignored due to sanctuary policy. We continue to see this happen over and over and over again. I assume you're happy to see this lawsuit.
Definitely, and we need to see more of it with other sanctuary jurisdictions. This was yet another preventable crime because there were so many opportunities to keep these aliens out of the U.S., to deport them, and at the very least to keep them off the streets. We have been suffering since the Biden administration from the perfect storm of open borders under the Biden administration, sanctuary policies, but also rogue prosecutors and judges that just keep releasing criminals back onto the street.
And the Trump administration not just suing New York City, they also sued the city of Los Angeles out here for its sanctuary status. And kind of the basis behind these lawsuits is the Trump administration is citing the supremacy clause of the U.S. Constitution, saying these sanctuary policies are violating the supremacy clause, which essentially says federal government supersedes everything the state does, federal law supersedes state law, and that these sanctuary jurisdictions are treating federal law enforcement different than they do state and local law enforcement with these sanctuary policies refusing to cooperate. Do you think going down that road legally is the right way to play this?
It is a good angle because immigration law is federal and it does preempt state and local law, particularly where state and local laws contradict federal law. State and locals can have their own laws, but they need to be consistent with federal laws. And so often these sanctuary leaders say, well, we're not going to have our law enforcement do immigration. That's a federal job. And yet when the feds tried to do their job and enforce the law, then these same leaders turn around and obstruct and don't cooperate and interfere with the enforcement of those federal laws. So I believe this is a winning legal argument.
Yeah, and those court hearings are going to be months away, so we'll keep an eye on those. As the Trump administration is suing New York, New York's also one of 20 Democratic-run states suing the Trump administration to restore taxpayer-funded benefits for illegal aliens. D.C. is now joining that lawsuit. Lora, we were told that illegal immigrants don't get any taxpayer benefits, I thought.
Yeah, this is another example of the multi-phases of Democrat denial. First, they say it's not happening. Then they say, well, it just happens, but it's infrequent. Then they say, well, it's a good thing that it's happening. And then finally, they demand that you implement what they denied was happening. So these leaders who are suing the administration are ignoring their American constituents who voted against having their taxpayer dollars go to illegal aliens. Americans need to be prioritized. American tax dollars need to go to Americans. And so these lawsuits are egregious, and we really need to start putting Americans first.
And for the viewers at home who may not be aware, what are some of the taxpayer-funded services that illegal immigrants get in some of these sanctuary jurisdictions?
Well, they were receiving different types of welfare, whether that was Medicaid, SNAP. It goes to all sorts of daily activities, public education, healthcare, housing, you name it. We can't survive sustainably these economic costs when we have so many millions of people here living illegally. We need to keep American tax dollars going to Americans.
Yeah, and here in California, the state had, I think, more than a $6 billion cost overrun providing health insurance for illegal immigrants, free health insurance. Another topic, a second federal court has now blocked President Trump's Birthright citizenship order. It kind of gets lost in the weeds. It feels like there's a different, federal court ruling every single day. At this point, what happens right now with this Trump executive order trying to ban birthright citizenship?
Well, the merits question versus the nationwide injunction question, which already went to the Supreme Court. Now the merits question will go to the Supreme Court. And frankly, Trump's executive order was scoped on safe ground. He says to receive U.S. citizenship, you must have a parent who's either a lawful permanent resident or a U.S. citizen. That is consistent with the limited case law that we have, consistent with the limited legislative and congressional history that we have. And it's also consistent with the majority of the rest of the world. And it is common sense. This amendment, the 14th Amendment, was written right after the Civil War. Clearly, the members of Congress did not contemplate illegal aliens coming to the U.S. and having children here conferred with U.S. citizenship. And so we need to follow the law and use common sense. And require that U.S. citizen parents or lawful permanent residents are the only ones who can have U.S. citizen children born here.
Yeah, and the president has said he feels that birthright citizenship is one of the biggest incentives for illegal immigration into the U.S. We've heard him use that term, anchor babies, the idea that you cross that river, you have a child here, instant U.S. citizenship, and then you begin chain migration with other family members. 30 seconds, final word to you before we go.
Right. Not only is it clearly a draw, an entire industry, a birth tourism industry has developed over this very issue, where pregnant women will time coming to the U.S. to give birth here because they know the wrong interpretation the past many decades has been that that child is then conferred U.S. citizenship. It is a glaring exploitation of our Constitution and our very generous immigration system, and we need to bring sanity back to our immigration system so it's lawful and orderly and manageable.
Yeah, and it's one of the biggest complaints I heard from Border Patrol agents during the years I was covering the border the last few years. Lora, Ries, great to see you. Thanks for coming on, and I hope you have a good Saturday.
Hey everyone, I'm Emily Campagno. Catch me and my co-hosts Harris Faulkner and Kaylee McEnany on Outnumbered every weekday at 12 p.m. Eastern, or set your DVR. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page for daily highlights.